Okay, recording. Welcome to Catalyst Energies. My name is Dee. Thank you for joining me. I'm so grateful that you're here. This is your weekly astrology report for the week of October 9th, 2020. And we are looking at the third quarter square. And we're actually looking at it at this chart right here, the third quarter square, which is the square between the sun and the moon coming into the last quarter of our lunar cycle. There's a lot to talk about. I'm going to do my best to give you some general themes because this could turn into a really long report. And I just don't think that that's necessary right at this moment. Just give you the highlights. A lot of the stuff is going to get covered in the dailies that I do on my Facebook page. So the third quarter square is a crisis in consciousness. We saw a lot with that full moon. It was agitated. It was hot. Whew. We saw a lot and we felt exactly everybody got triggered in some way, and it was very extreme. So this third quarter square in any lunar cycle is when the aspects that we had the chance to see consciously, to be made aware of, and to specifically about what's time to release in order to fulfill our intention with the new moon, right? It's time to let go of some things at the full moon. This is our last moment with this third quarter square where we're really tested on our resolve of fulfilling that actual release. There will be trajectories between different aspects, our sun and moon aspects of us, that are going to be going in different directions. That is the nature of the square. And there's really no way to resolve it. You kind of just got to lean into it and let it happen and let the fallout happen. And there's a lot to learn from squares, but they're not comfortable. But they happen every month, twice a month actually. So it's not exactly the end of the world. But what I will say is these are very strongly aspected to the US natal chart, and they're very strongly aspected. Specifically, the moon is conjunct Sirius. So I want to talk about Sirius and how this, how they as a starseed race function. And how directly they're connected to Earth and Atlantis, and obviously how they're connected to the US chart. And there's just a lot there. So I want to talk about the week astrology. I could just go on forever, and maybe I need to make a video specifically about this. In fact, that's what I'm going to do. So that way I can talk about the rest of the astrology, because there are a lot of challenges coming this week. We have the Mercury that's going to go retrograde in Scorpio, and we have a lot of squares between the sun and Jupiter and Pluto, an opposition to Mars. You know, there's going to be a lot of challenge to this sun that really wants to express itself by being fair and being focused on justice and balancing things. And it takes work, right? It takes work to do these things, to balance the scales. We actually have to take the knowledge that we've learned through the course of developing ourselves and apply it. And the intention is there to be balanced, but at the same time, there are just so many other things going on that are really going to challenge that very simple desire to express, you know, that full expression and fulfillment that comes through the sun, right? It is unadulterated, pure expression of the individual, right? We want to express ourselves through this ability to balance things and make sure that everybody's needs are met. And so all of these, there's going to be a lot of challenge to this, and it's okay, because what we're doing right now is realizing, well, what we realized with the full moon, honestly, is that we had the chance with that full moon, with those triggers, to see the symbolism behind those triggers, because it's really the symbolism and the ritual, the collective ritual, that can actually manifest reality around us. Okay, this is the technology that we are utilizing, or we can utilize. Okay, and this is why talking about Sirius is going to be important. So, and why it's so directly connected to the moon right now at this square, because it's really going to pull us into a very deep emotional place, a very psychically attuned place about what is it, how do we actually manifest reality. We got to dig deep and be emotionally and have our core very strong in order to be able to influence the symbolism that represents the reality that we want to live in. That is what ritual is. It's like a collective focus on a symbol that represents something. And we need to take care of this space, right? And this is why it's going to challenge where the sun is. And if we realized with the full moon, I think, what our triggers are, because we felt them so strongly. And then we had Mercury conjunct Arcturus, which was like this projector through our third eye that, with this Arcturian wisdom, they're very advanced and very wise, and they're very old. And they're very invested in Earth because they're invested in all life, and they are able to function at a very high level and master sacred geometry. Quantum physics is about research and knowledge and building from those places. And so we were able to get that instruction manual through Mercury at the time of the full moon. And if we took it, then we'll be ready for the new moon that's coming on the 16th, which is a huge Arcturian zip file coming in, and activating us fully, right, in a creationary way. And that's going to, that's going to be a time to put an intention down, to actually unzip that file and integrate it into our system, right? That's going to be this whole next lunar cycle. And the Arcturian aspect through Mercury lasts through the election. And I talked about that in a different video about the autumn equinox and the last quarter of the season. And so I will link that at the end of this video if you want to check it out, because that gets much more specific into the Arcturian aspect of all of this. Needless to say, there's a lot of starseed stuff coming up, connected right now, and it's very much connected to what's happening in the U.S. and what the energetic blueprint of the United States as a country is. And there's a lot of challenge, but there's also a lot of really optimistic, good fortune type of aspects that we could take advantage of. We have another Jupiter sextile Neptune. That's always gives the good feels, at least this time. Oh my gosh, very good feels. And Venus is going to trine Uranus, and Venus in Virgo has really started to allow us to feel in our bodies and to value very strongly this Virgo essence of doing the work, right? Of getting underneath the surface and really doing what needs to be done to master ourselves, to grow ourselves, to be, to fulfill our purpose for being here. But we have to do that by educating ourselves and training and really understanding what we're made of and what characterizes us. That's very Virgo. So really the theme here, if I could boil it down, is to realize that this last quarter is really about, it's going to really test us in our ability to get right into the core of who we are and feel safe enough and secure enough there to, and trust it, right? Trust that space enough to then focus on the symbols that represent what we actually want to create, and to know when we are being triggered, and to not even be triggered, right? Because we are taking care of ourselves emotionally. We are in our safe place. The fourth house in the Cancer energy is very womb-like and maternal, and the moon wanting to be there. We're going to want to be safe, and it's a little bit insular. We're going to want to insulate ourselves a little bit, and that's okay with this square. Just lean into it and know that you don't have to fully go either way, that wanting to express yourself by being focused on the balance and just the justice of the world around us is important, but we also have to pull ourselves in and reinforce the place where we individually in our higher self feel the safest, the most secure, and where our power comes from, because that's going to dictate what world we manifest. That place inside, not waiting for things to happen outside of us, and then we will feel like that we feel powerful and safe, okay? And that's, if we recognized with the full moon that is the case, that we saw our triggers, we felt them very strongly, they were very much about deeply who we are. I mean, it was conjunct Chiron, so let's, deep wounds of self, our deepest triggers, our traumas coming out and being triggered, and realizing that there are aspects that symbolize that, but they aren't that, and that we have control over that. That is what magic is. So the reason that Sirius is so important here is because the Sirians, they were they possess the technology in order to create reality with vibration, right? To manifest from vibration, actual technology that allows for the, the manifestation to change the world around them, to actually use sound and light vibration technology to have the power to do things, right? It's very Star Trek. That's the vibe that I get. They were very involved with Atlantis. They were very involved in the fuck up that was Atlantis, right? Because that's the thing. You need to have a certain level of consciousness to really be able to utilize that technology without abusing it. And I think that it's important to keep that in mind for the future. But for now, we're talking more about the emotional and the intuitive psychic aspect, the magic aspect, because the Sirians, starseeds, tend to be the shamans and the mystics and the sorcerers and the wizards and the energy workers, right? And it's very much about create the active energy work, not so much the healing aspect of the Pleiadians, for instance, that are much more heart chakra based. Sirians are like from the creative well of the sacral chakra and then up through the throat chakra. Okay, so orange and blue colors are very strong with Sirian starseeds, and it's it's the people that are going into those spaces, the people that possess the inner technology, and you do that by changing your vibration. This is much more about aligning ourselves emotionally with the permanence of truth of that place, right? When you are deeply connected to your core, from the very core of who you are, nothing can push you off. And it's really important that we go into this place so that when we are intentionally triggered or we find ourselves being triggered, we are so strong in that place that we are not disturbed at all. And that's how we're really going to make actual change in the environment around us, not by being just swung everywhere emotionally because of symbolism, right? That we see things that symbolize past traumas, either this life or past lives, and then we react out of it. We can't do that. And the sun is definitely going to aggravate that, because the sun is like, I want justice, I want peace, I want everything to be perfect, right? It's so Libra, and that's great. And we're going to get a big dose of that at the end of this cycle and moving into the next one, to the point where we're going to have a whole new set of capacities in order to really work with the world around us and build something substantial. So this, with the third quarter square on top of it, is Mars square Pluto. Pluto's moving direct now. So, I mean, the death energy is coming through, and it's really just, it's really cleaning up. It really is. And Mars, thankfully, I think is retrograde. I'm thankful about that. It's very frustrating, but if you use it properly, even though there's this internal drive to create, and there's ambition and there's drive and there's a desire and potency there, in square to Pluto, that's just like, yep, I'm just destroying it all. You know what I mean? Like, it's over. I'm just, and it's time to take your awards and move on. And we're gonna just clean up this mess here. You can see where this you can see where the stress is here right after that. And so there will be a test right away, like, how strong are you into the permanence of your own truth? Mars squaring Pluto right away is going to challenge that, so be prepared. Mars is going to come back and square Pluto again at the solstice, and this time direct. So keep that under your hat, that thing that's going to be like, that's going to come up again, but this time it's just inner. It's just an inner manifestation right now. So let's move on actually to the 10th. This is where things will lighten up again. So this is Saturday over the weekend. Let's see here. The moon is going to be still in late Cancer, going to move into Leo. We still have Mercury that's in opposition to Uranus. And here we go. Venus and Uranus are in a trine. This is really nice. This is really allowing us to, we're feeling pretty strong, substantiated, consolidated our power in who we are at this point. And Venus is like, okay, I can be in the world and not of it, and I can feel that in my body. I can value it. I see the value. I see how it feels good, how it creates harmony in my relationships, and it's completely in trine to Uranus in Taurus, which is also like, yes, everything actually has value, and I'm going to show you that by constantly disrupting it, and it will draw your attention there constantly as well. And so we're going to be able to like ride these disruptions very easily if we embody on a personal level what being able to live in the world but not of it. It's really important that we're able to do that, because that's where the Virgo, that's where the magic happens in the real time, is the Virgo energy, right? The shamans, the mystics, the wizards, they work with energy, right? But they had to get to that point, and Virgo is the time where you are devoting yourself to creating a vessel that can even handle that, right? And so if you notice the shamans, for instance, in many, shamans in general, there's a lot of aspects cross culturally that seem to be consistent, and one of them is the fact that they do not live with the community, and they are often hermits. They often have to be away, and I think that is part of having to keep the channel clear. The way you have to live your life is outside of the realm of the normal social activity, all of that stuff. And so it's going to become something that we really value and what feels good to us to be able to do that. And it's really going to help the bumpiness, I think, with Uranus that's constantly just making, it's just, constantly just making, it's disturbing all of the material reality around us and forcing us to like acknowledge over and over again what is valuable, because it keeps changing all the time. Okay, so but the weekend, is this one of those moments, and Mars is also going to be in sextile to the North Node as well. So we are headed in this direction of new conceptions, of just being able to conceive of any idea that's different as ours is part of Gemini. You have to be able to conceive of all aspects of an idea in order to get the full understanding of it eventually. And so this is where we're headed. This is what's leading our evolution, not strong belief systems where the South Node in Sagittarius is. It's not that those are bad things. It's just in this part of the cycle, we really need to be focusing on engaging and being curious enough to engage with multitude of ideas. So when Mars is in sextile here, this ability to do that, I mean, Mars is very, like I said, ambitious and courageous and not fearful and really driven. And so if we're really driven internally, we can really use that as a way to not be afraid, right? To not be afraid of considering new ideas, and to like really be that, kind of like that Khaleesi moment, right? She gets on that dragon and rides it, and that's what we need to be. And Mars retrograde is going to help, I think, in that moment as well, get the courage and the stamina and the desire within us in order to do that. So the weekend, it's going to start off really a struggle. And then the weekend, I think, is going to give us a chance to really build some stamina and momentum. So let's move through to the 11th. The sun is going to square Jupiter, right? And so there we go, right again, square Jupiter, the sun squares Jupiter. It's in a quincunx to Neptune. So right there again, this sun in Libra, that's just like, so I just want it all to be so balanced, and like I'm so invested in this. Is also Jupiter is just like, wow, I'm trying to expand on my power here. In fact, I need to actually step up before I'm ready, I got to expand really quickly in this realm of getting stuff done, right? Second decan of Capricorn is ruled by Mars. It's the 3 of discs, the works. That's where Jupiter is. It's like, oh, I gotta get going. I gotta manage this, right? And really needs to expand very quickly. And so the sun squaring it is just like, I don't want you to expand on your power. It needs to be balanced. It needs to be fair. This is about the idea of these things and symmetry. So again, it's just going to be, again, this like, it's going to be really struggle. And then there'll be these really intense moments of healing and groundedness, and giving us a sense of being able to see outside of, and not attach physically to the duality and the what happens with that in the world. And then immediately the sun is then going to be challenging Jupiter. That's just like, well, I'm trying here to get stuff done. I'm trying to expand and lead here in this expansion and this building something. And the sun's just like, well, right now I'm focused on things being fair and balanced, and that is not, we do not have the same goals in mind here. So again, it's just gonna, it's it seems to be this back and forth, because right after that we have Jupiter is going to then be an exact sextile to Neptune. So it was in square to the sun and continues to be in a square, but then the sextile to Neptune. This is where I think the real luck can happen if we really get into this hanged man position and do it consciously and intentionally, and just flip the script on ourselves, right? And trust that we are getting a major, when we do that, that we are getting access to the collective stream of the spiritual work, right? It's the master instructing the disciple, right? It is the transmission of the collective knowledge, right? Just being able to get into the flow of it and just letting it move through you. And part of that is going to be really just relaxing into it and doing that hanged man posture. And if we do that, that's really going to allow Jupiter to step up when Jupiter is really not ready to step up into this position of responsibility before it's not necessarily ready. It's just more about wasn't prepared necessarily. It's expanding into this role. And if we're trying to do it from a position of like, I'm trying to keep things balanced, it's going to meet with resistance. If we come with it, if we allow ourselves to relax into the flow and take the transmission of the information, that is much more helpful to Jupiter in this instance. It's like trusting that you're getting the information from the source directly, and is helping expand and get a sense of responsibility about what you're creating as well. So Jupiter sextile Neptune, I feel like that will be that'll come through more clear as we go through day by day, and where the moon is specifically. But it's just know that it's a really beautiful and really benevolent connection. Okay, so right after that, the sun is going to oppose Mars. So again, it's flip-flopping back and forth, these major transits that are giving us a chance. It's like, getting blasted and then taking a break, getting blasted and then taking a break. That's, it is in itself an oscillation. That's pretty cool, actually. So the sun is then going to coming into its opposition with Mars. And this is when Mercury stations direct. So, oh, wait, here we go. Here's the 13th. This is when Mercury is soon to station retrograde, and the sun is, there we go. Sun is opposing Mars. The moon is about to meet Venus in Virgo, and Mercury will soon station retrograde. So this is going to be, Mercury is slowing down, is going to retrograde at this 12 degrees of Scorpio, and we're going to go back through Scorpio, and everything that we've been kind of seeing about what it means to be in communion, what kind of power we can draw from our communal camaraderie, shared experiences, and how powerful they are in terms of giving us a collective power and energy. And we're going into some deep spaces with Mercury. So going retrograde, it's now the lens is, getting turned back on ourselves. And now we're going to go back over all this territory and look at ourselves in relation to what that all means. And this just deepens the conversation about symbolism and what we can give our energy to in terms of a symbol. So it's going retrograde here now, and then the sun is in opposition to Mars. Of course, it's still Mars is retrograde, it's just so frustrated if you're trying to create out there, and create from a place of, just this really potent, subjective desire. This is just about the ego in Aries. You're not thinking about others. That's what Libra is for. And, this opposition here really allows us to find the midpoint between, trying to activate something within our own potency and desire for ourselves, and also expressing ourselves through the balance of all of the energy around us. finding the midpoint is really going to be important, especially since Mercury is stationing retrograde at this point. So we're going to have to understand how to ultimately work with that duality between the fire of creation and the mind in order to really navigate these spaces that Mercury is going to go back over, because we're going to have to look at ourselves. And if we are much more in the Aries end where Chiron is and where Mars is, it's just going to be a lot more of the same stuff we saw with the full moon, just this agitation and being triggered and acting on that trigger. But if we, and there's validity to what's happening there. I mean, there is so much power and potency in Aries, but we also need to balance it out with an expression of ourselves through a desire to want to be balanced as well. I mean, you don't even think about other people in Aries. That's not even a conception of you. You're just acting out of your own, instinct almost. So this is where the moon is getting dark. She's going to meet Venus, which will be really nice in Virgo. And we'll talk more about that. And then as we go through the rest of this, the moon is coming into a trine, or the sun is coming into a trine, as you see here with the North Node. That's really nice. And our desire, our fulfillment of ourself, our way of expressing ourself through this justice is really balanced with where the soul of us is headed when it comes to the realm of ideas. We're on the right track, right? They're really, really connecting strongly to each other without having to do much in between. They are just, there is a sense of duality, but there's also a sense of integration and hope and really peaceful and an ability to work with the duality and not get pulled into it emotionally. So you'd have to really act on something to get that like belief system dogma aspect with the South Node, right? So we'd have to act on it. So this is important to keep in mind, that this aspect of the mind is they're very well supporting each other. So, and we also have the moon, it's going to be in opposition to Neptune too. So, I mean, we're going to really feel even more strongly than usual. I think this, I wouldn't say serious, but it's definitely very organized and anal about where things are, especially within our emotions and in our body. And we'll feel very driven, I think, to want to do something about that and organize something. And, because Neptune is just too amorphous at this point, and you're asking a lot to, trust the transmission of sacred knowledge just by being in the flow of it. It is important to do that, but we can't, we do have to put a little bit, it's going to pull us in this direction of wanting to actually do real things in real time to master ourselves, rather than just trusting that we have access to the divine flow whenever we want. And in fact, it's being transmitted to us as long as we just step into it. So it's very interesting. Okay. And then as we finish up this cycle, I mean, the moon is dark. She's coming into Libra, and the sun is going to square Pluto. And so this is really going to be the ultimate challenge, as far as I can tell, with the optimism of Libra, the rooster crowing to the dawn, like heralding the sun, the new beginning, with Pluto. That's just like, well, this is the end, right? I mean, this will show us quite a bit. And what's interesting is that the moon is also in Libra at this time when the square is happening in opposition to Chiron. So even the moon is going to be like, okay, well, let's focus a little bit more, even emotionally, on how to make sure that other people, the whole situation is balanced, whatever that situation is, that we are working towards making sure that it's balanced and just and fair. So it's not to say that these wounds aren't worth considering. We don't want to get stuck on one side or the other, but the Libra energy pulling over here is going to be a little bit more strong. And I think that's okay, because that way, this, whatever this represents with Pluto, this square to the sun here, it's going to be uncomfortable no matter what. So that's something to just be aware of. But what this does is allows us to kind of want to guard ourselves a little bit, guard this aspect of fairness, right? This aspect of wanting to balance the scales, so to speak. We'll feel more drawn to this, and so that we don't totally get activated by Pluto in our in our wounding, our personal deep wounding, because this is just something we're going to have to keep working with for the next 6 years while Chiron goes through Aries. So these are aspects that we get to work on for a lot longer. So it's best not to get too caught up in them, especially when we're talking about Pluto, which is a natural part of life. Letting things go. They have to die. They have to be pulled away in order to make space for what's coming in. And I assure you, what is coming in with this next new moon is massive in terms of our transformation and our metamorphosis as individuals and a society. And it's going to, like I said, it's going to be like that zip file. And then after that, we're going to be opening that file and integrating it all. So man, that's a lot of information, and I hope you're still staying with me and you found it relevant. And you can always go back and listen to aspects later to see what has changed and to maybe get a different perspective on the words and the symbolism that I'm putting forth. This is just a narrative. It's an archetypal narrative. It's going to be really challenging, but at the same time, there's really benevolent and aspects that we can take advantage of in a good way, right? To recharge us and to, allow us to get stronger in our own emotional and mental health, our own spiritual health, our energetic hygiene, like making our roots stronger and realizing that it's from that place that we're really able to actually manifest. So thanks for being here. Everything you need is in the description box below. We do take donations. You can use the email catalystenergies through PayPal. You can just copy and paste the email from the description box if you need to. Facebook, Instagram has daily content. And if you want to book a reading, go to the website, catalystenergies.net. It's in the description box. And everything there will take you through the process of booking any kind of service with astrology readings, intuitive readings, Reiki, distance Reiki, and package deals. So thanks for being here. Enjoy the rest of this lunar cycle, and I will see you for the report on the new moon